Valve's anti-cheat, VAC, is infamous for being ineffective. People with cheap cheats register new accounts or buy pre-made ones for $3, and then they ruin games for honest players in Deadlock, CS, and Dota 2. The most primitive solutions let you play for months, even years, without getting banned. That's not even mentioning DMA cards and AI-powered cheats that even FaceIT sometimes fails to catch. But VAC seems to be broken not because Gabe can't afford a proper anti-cheat. It's part of a strategy. One that's designed for the long-term health of Valve as a company. Today, I'm going to show you how Valve is building a system that doesn't need access to your computer to detect cheaters, and how VAC became a piece in Gabe's strategic chess match against Microsoft and Sony. So what actually makes VAC different from other anti-cheats? Let's go back to 2015, the peak of CSGO's popularity, and the first big wave of complaints about the insane number of cheaters in competitive matchmaking.
Valve is a billion dollar company, yet they cannot make a better anti-cheat client than FaceIT? What?
Players who were truly sick of facing cheaters started migrating to FaceIT. There, unlike in standard matchmaking, the anti-cheat runs at the kernel level. That means FaceIT's anti-cheat operates inside the core of your Windows, can see every process running and has full access to your computer, unlike VAC, which runs at ring-free, the user mod. Essentially, VAC has no more access to your system than a web browser does. That means it's lighter on your PC and doesn't invade your privacy, but you pay for that with worse match quality. Despite FaceIT's kernel level access, it didn't take long to figure out that cheating there is also possible. It just takes more resources. An average kit with a public cheat will get banned almost immediately, but a savvy player with a setup costing a couple $1,000s, including a DMA card and a second PC, can stay under the radars for a long time. Eventually, they'll get banned too, but then cheaters find new workarounds and the cycle continues. So the cheating problem never really gets solved, it just migrates to the top tier: streamers, high-ranked players, and anyone willing to invest in cheats to monetize their skill. You can keep tightening the screws indefinitely, all the way up to forcing an always-on anti-cheat that runs 24/7, like Valorant does. But we all know even that has cheaters. It's just a game of cat and mouse, endless, expensive, pointless. Valve, watching cheats evolve and money bleed into VAC development, came to a wise conclusion. VAC, which by design never touched anything unnecessary on your computer, wasn't going to change direction. There's no point looking at the input, running programs, system memory. You need to look at the output, the player's final statistics and behavioral anomalies. But how do you do that? Machine learning. A quick note. Machine learning means cheaters are flagged based on indirect signs, not direct proof. The system needs to be highly confident you're cheating, but it can never be 100% certain. So what do you do with people you are suspicious of, but can't confidently ban yet? You can't just let them run free, right? The solution is throw them into a pool with other questionable players. Match quality drops sharply and the offender suffers until they either clean up their act or go full rage mode and get themselves banned. So now let's see how Valve actually began executing this strategy. January 2016. Behavior score is introduced in Dota 2. February 2017. A verified Valve, or VAC, representative posts on Reddit stating that kernel level anti-cheat is a mistake and that the company is already working on a machine learning based solution. August 2017. At the International 7, OpenAI bots play a show match against professional players. Yes, that OpenAI. ChatGPT is still 5 years away and Gabe is already building bridges and investing in the future. In 2018, he donates $20 million to OpenAI and becomes its sole advisor. He deliberately stays out of the decision-making board to avoid conflicts with investors. November 2017. Trust Factor is introduced in CSGO. March 2018. Valve presents VACNet at GDC. April 2018. Sivan Zilis, mother of Elon Musk's children and at the time COO of OpenAI, writes him an email, passing along a message from Sam Altman. Dota 5 vs 5 looking better than anticipated.
Finger attempted onto the gyro, the stun from No Tail misses. Thompson's AFK, he's had enough of this one. As the Ancient will fall, and that is GG, game over. OpenAI taking game 2, taking the series 2-0 as a player.
This approach, not banning cheaters outright but quietly dumping them into a cesspool with their own kind, has advantages for everyone involved. First, players stay in circulation, player counts don't drop, cases and battle passes keep selling, CS and Dota 2 generate hundreds of millions of dollars and stay at the top of Steam's charts. The second, cheaters don't go looking for new cheats. Cheat developers don't feel pressured to improve their products. Why bother if it still works? And the third thing is, honest players with old accounts and clean stats should theoretically run into fewer cheaters in their games. Right now, VACNet is still training. In the last few years there have been at least 2 waves of false bans that were later overturned. Cheaters are still very much present, even at high trust factor levels. That said, progress is real, and once the system is fully calibrated, cheaters will find it extremely hard to hide. It won't matter what you are using, a private injector, a DMA card, or an AI-powered aimbot. The detection mechanism depends on what your overall statistical picture looks like. If you're shooting with suspiciously high accuracy and never get caught off guard, that's strange, isn't it? You're pressing buttons like a pro player, but you don't know basic hero pills? That's suspicious. And the system doesn't care how you achieved that result. It knows that a legitimate player simply wouldn't have that kind of skill distribution. You will be placed in a hidden pool until you either start blatantly cheating or until your stats normalize. And that's exactly what gives VACNet a competitive edge over other anti-cheats. There's no more endless cat and mouse game, your files stay private, your CPU isn't burdened with unnecessary scans, and the effectiveness is actually higher. Who wouldn't want that? But easy anti-cheat and BatLI can just flip a switch and start using machine learning overnight. They would need a dataset of an unimaginable scale, years of calibration and enormous computing power. Valve started preparing 10 years ago. Its competitors are only now starting to see which way the wind is blowing. How will they close the gap? I don't know. One thing is certain. They're going to have to deal with the consequences of their own short-sightedness. Admit it, Gabe Newell's GAMBIT surprised you. But here's the thing, we haven't even talked about the most important part yet. Few people know that Gabe Newell's fate is closely tied to Microsoft. At 21, he walked into their office, back when they were just one of thousands of small companies in Washington state. Management liked him, one thing led to another, and Gabe dropped out of Harvard for a career opportunity. After 13 years at the company, including work on early versions of Windows, Gabe left Microsoft and founded Valve, followed by the release of Half-Life. In 2012, when Steam was already firmly on its feet and growing fast, Windows 8 launched. With it, the Microsoft Store. As you probably remember, it was a complete flop. Public attention was mostly focused on the operating system itself, but for Gabe, the Microsoft Store's launch was a thunderclap. Microsoft had stepped onto his turf, signaling that they too could sell games, and planned to do so through their own storefront. Newell saw Microsoft looking at iOS and the App Store as a blueprint, which meant Valve's grand castle was built on a shaky ground. There was no place for him in Microsoft's new business model. I think that Windows 8 is kind of a catastrophe for everybody in the PC space. I think that we are going to lose some of the top tier PC. They'll exit the market. I think margins are going to be destroyed for a bunch of people. The only viable alternative was Linux, a fresh, non-commercial, open-source platform. In 2013, Gabe spoke with the operating system's creator and made the decision to start developing SteamOS on top of Linux. The problem? Most Windows software doesn't run on other operating systems, including games and, crucially, anti-cheat systems. Without them, SteamOS was dead on arrival. Valve took community-built solutions in this space and poured serious resources into them, leading to the release of Proton in 2018. Proton is a compatibility layer that translates Windows commands into something Linux can understand. Many programs and games suddenly became available on SteamOS. The single-player side of the problem was partially solved. But multiplayer games require anti-cheat, and that is where Linux has a problem. The very nature of kernel-level anti-cheat is that it works with Windows-protected, rigid kernel architecture. Linux is open. Users can do whatever they want with the OS. These are fundamentally incompatible concepts. Many anti-cheats have gained Linux compatibility through Proton, but they run in user mode, meaning their effectiveness is significantly reduced compared to the Windows version. Many developers have chosen not to enable Linux support at all, to avoid creating an extra loophole for cheaters. And Valve understands all of this perfectly. That's why Gabe made sure VACNet wouldn't rely on kernel-level access. If they ever had to make a sudden move to SteamOS, CS2, Dota 2, Deadlock, and other Valve games wouldn't have issues. Other developers could be offered a transition to VACNet, with customization and retraining for their specific game. SteamOS, by the way, needed a testing ground, which is how the Steam Machine idea was born in 2013. It was supposed to be a gaming console that had all the functionality of a PC, worked out of the box, and brought PC gaming, 75% of which Valve controlled, back into the living room. Once Windows was no longer a threat, they could compete directly with Xbox and PlayStation. And the first Steam Machine release was a flop. However, the following attempts with the Steam Deck and Steam VR can be called fairly successful. Valve's second attempt at the Steam Machine was derailed by the RAM and component price crisis. The idea of an affordable console turned out to be impossible. For now. But crises pass, you just have to wait. And Gabe, he knows how to wait. Now when Microsoft is drawing user ire with buggy AI updates, Valve only needs to quietly polish their system and watch. And we will watch as well.
Who are you?
I'm Gabe Newell.